Welcome to Riding the Pine, where the hosts are tribal tats in the streets and crying Jordans in the sheets. My name is Jake, and I'll be your captain tonight. The co-pilot is John, and our trusty stewardess is Lou. Please remain seated during the program so you can be properly positioned while sighing heavily at our expense. 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Here's the motherfucking rundown. The rundown! Today we will discuss and debate the effects of both Kevin Durant signing in Golden State and Dwayne Wade heading to Chicago. UFC is dying faster than Usain Bolt on a moving sidewalk. And finally, how Russell Wilson made me cringe so hard, he gave me scoliosis. How are you guys doing today?
According to Wayne's World, scoliosis is itchy. Is it itchy, Jake?
It's not itchy.
It's not itchy.
A bend. It's just your back's fucked up. You look weird.
I haven't ever actually seen I've never actually seen Wayne's World all the way through. I've never seen it.
Oh, all the way through.
Really, the only memorable scene, or the only thing that I remember from it from my childhood, was the scene in the laundromat when Garth is there with that really hot blonde lady, and she says, "Do you want to have dinner some night?" And he says, "I like to have dinner every night." And that's really the only line I can quote from the movies. That's it, man.
I always put those on the same exact shelf in my brain as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
Like, it's the exact same movie to me in my head, except one's clearly different. Time travel. Anyways, so obviously there's been a bunch of shit going on in the NBA. Kevin Durant and Dwayne Wade both signed with new teams, which is weird. So Kevin Durant signed a 1-1 worth $54.3 million in Golden State, and Dwayne Wade signed a 1-1 worth $47.5 million in Chicago. And we'll talk about Kevin Durant first. Okay, number one, was this a bitch move?
Is it a bitch move compared to the thing that everybody has been comparing it to is LeBron? Is it a bitch move?
LeBron's was a bitch move.
No.
But it was a bitch move because he made it a spectacle. It wasn't a bitch move, like, by virtue of chasing championships in Miami. I don't feel like that's a bitch move.
I agree.
I feel like the way he did it was so classless. But he's learned his lesson. He hasn't done shit since. He's been very classy since. Like, it was kind of a window into how much LeBron values himself as a person, and he thinks he is. But, like, you gotta kind of be humble. He thought he was, like, a really big fucking deal, and he made a special about it. Durant just wrote a letter.
Right, and I'm actually really disappointed that Durant didn't end his letter with, "I'm taking my talent to Oakland." I'm taking my talents to Oakland. I think that would have been great.
Because he wants to throw shade?
It just would have been fun to have that at the end. No, I agree. I mean, everybody's saying that this is like LeBron. In some ways, it's not nearly as bad as LeBron. In other ways, I think it's far worse. Like I said on RTP Live the other night, I mean, if he goes on and he wins a title now with the Warriors this year, or, say they're able to make this thing work and they're able to keep this team together for a few years, because he's on the LeBron deal, he's on a 2-year with 1-year player option. He's never going to escape the stigma of you're the guy, you're the we can't beat him, join him guy, because you couldn't get the job done against the Warriors, so you had to go join them. You had to surrender to them to try and get some of their glory because you're chasing a ring at this point. You've had all the individual and regular season accolades. Now you have to go after that title. So bitch move, I don't think so, because one, he was classy about it. He wasn't a dick about it. The way LeBron was, he didn't make a spectacle, as you said, with an ESPN special and everything. But like I said on RTP Live, the rivalry, because the two teams have faced each other so much in the playoffs over the last 3 years and they've had such animosity, if you're a Warriors fan, this is far more of a bitch move, considering Miami and Cleveland at the time had zero rivalry with one another.
Do you mean Thunder fan?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what did I say?
Warriors fan.
I'm sorry, yes.
Warriors fans are probably having an erection.
Right, no, I'm sorry. I mean, as a Thunders
yeah.
fan, this is a lot worse than it would have been for, like, for example, Cleveland when he left. Now, has the owner of the Warriors come out with a scathing letter that he wrote in Comic Sans and sent it to the local paper? Has that happened yet?
The owner of the Thunders? No.
I said the Warriors again, didn't I?
Yeah, it's okay.
Man, I am
The
just
Thunder,
so
no,
hot for
no,
the
he is
Warriors
not.
that I just
No.
can't get them off the brain. They are the Sage Northcutt of the NBA at this point.
Okay, calm down. We will talk about Sage Northcutt later, who was a fighter in the UFC, if you are unawares. John, I know you're not big into the NBA, not nearly as much as Lou, myself, or David. But as a sports fan, is it a bitch move for Durant to have left?
Well, I have a question so I can get into the right context.
Yes.
Is it more about him leaving Oklahoma City, or is it more about him joining Golden State?
The second
That's
one.
exactly where I was going to go with it. It's the second one.
It's the
It's
second
gotta
one.
be. If he would have left the Thunder and gone to Minnesota, no one's like, and just chased cash, people are like, well, why the fuck did you leave this good situation? But whatever. But he had just lost. He was up 3-1 on this team. Lost. They go to the finals and lose to Cleveland. Like they ripped his fucking heart out 2 years in a row. Not a lot of that's what it's about. It was a you can't beat him, join him thing. So, as a sports fan, is that shit a bitch move?
I don't think it is, although I'm probably in the minority, and it's because when I look at it and I say if he went to Minnesota, we wouldn't be having this conversation, then I don't see anything wrong with him chasing the cash and ending up on a team he's almost guaranteed to get a trophy at some point with.
He's got a shot at one, a good one.
Right. And I would submit a better shot than he even had in OKC.
Probably.
Oh, significantly better because not only that, when he was in OKC, he had another super team, not a super team, but he had a really talented team maybe you can call him a super team, in the 2014 and 2015 and 2016 Warriors to go up against. Now, it's not like he went to the Warriors and the Thunder are still a quality team. The Thunder are going to fall the fuck apart in the next 365 days. They're going to completely turn into a dumpster fire.
Well, it depends on what they do with Russ, because you lost Durant, but Russ can pick up a lot of the slack. We saw that not this past season, but the season prior, where the dude's averaging like a triple-double and almost willed that team with nobody else on it to the playoffs. And now this year he's got Victor Oladipo, Enes Kanter, and big guy, mustache. What the fuck's his name? Steven Adams. Thank you for myself. And he's got a good core now. I mean, he also has Roberson, who could play the three just fine, although he's not a great scorer. He's a good defender. So I feel like they'll still be in the mix. And, Russ is a legitimate top 4 or 5 player in the league. He's fantastic, but it depends on what they do with Westbrook. And I guess that's because I think we all agree it's not a bitch move for Durant to do it. Although the competitor in me, and I played basketball growing up. Like I used to play 8 hours a day in high school. Like I was insane. And then I blew my fucking ankle out and now I'm a fatty. But
that was the weirdest humble brag that we've had on this show so far. So
no, it's not a humble brag. I didn't like it wasn't like the starting point guard for the high school team. I didn't do anything like statistically. I just really loved basketball and I played it growing up. And then I blew my Achilles out and here we are talking about sports instead of playing them. You're welcome. But the competitor in me would never, like if I'm Durant, I never join the Warriors personally because I get my money wherever I want if it's about money. And I build, but I'm staying in OKC because I don't want to just win a championship. I want to beat that team to win a championship personally.
And then the other thing to it is it's not your team either. That's the thing. He went to OKC, and they're not going to build around him. Well, the team is clearly Splash and Draymond Green. The Splash Bros and Draymond Green. That's clearly the team.
I mean, let's be real. Kevin Durant is not going to be lost in that shuffle.
Right, but I would definitely say if we want to equate this to the big three in Miami, he's for sure the Chris Bosh. I mean, not as far as his talent level is concerned. He's the outsider coming in who's certainly kind of the back burner outsider.
The problem I have with this move is defensively on the floor. They're all decent defenders. And I'd say Durant has improved over the seasons, but he's gonna have to be playing like the 4 to fit everybody on the court. You know what I mean?
And with Bogut leaving, that's definitely going to be a shot to their defense right there.
But this conversation needs to move away from the Warriors because they're going to be good no matter what they do at this point. But towards the Thunder,
right? Do
they ship Russ and load up basically? Like Like, is the idea here we ride this out and hope Russell Westbrook re-signs with us next season, or before the trade deadline this year, are you shipping Russ if you don't have a contract extension by the trade deadline?
Is it just me, or was Russell Westbrook deafeningly silent about what was going on with Durant's free agency? Because as a teammate, I would be fully expecting that I would hear Russell Westbrook loud and clear saying, stay the fuck here. And maybe they were having that conversation behind closed doors, but there was certainly no talk about it. In fact, I seem to remember ESPN saying several times they were concerned with the deafening silence as well.
Yeah, I'm going to read into that. I normally wouldn't in this case, but it's Russell fucking Westbrook, who is
moody as shit.
Very, very outspoken. I wouldn't say moody. He's just outspoken. He's moody. He's always very stoic. And
you're right. He's not Joakim Noah by any means. I'm not saying that.
Well, no, he's a very intelligent, well-spoken dude. And like, he knows his shit, but he would speak up if he was pissed off. I feel like him and Kevin Durant talked about this, and part of the reason Durant makes this decision is Russ is like, you know what, I'd love to have you, but if you leave, I'm leaving. So like, do what's best for you. And he's not mad at him. Like, I don't think he blames him. He knows this is a business. He knows how this works, and I don't think Russ plans on staying now. Like, if you leave, I'm leaving.
Well,
too.
and I
like,
think that
no
was probably part of the motivation for KD leaving, was like what I said on RTP Live the other night. If I'm KD and I'm going to, the Thunder weren't going to give me a LeBron deal. The Thunder wanted to lock me up for a max 5-year deal. If I do that, and then Russell Westbrook says, you know what, man, fuck it. I'm a West Coast guy. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to go to the Lakers. It looks like this Ingram kid's going to be pretty good. It looks like they're going to be able to get their hands, we didn't know what we knew about Dwayne Wade at the time, but maybe they grab Dwayne. Maybe they just do something. They make a couple of moves. And then here you are as Kevin Durant, and you're stuck in OKC for the next 5 years. For the prime of your career, you're going to be stuck in, let's face it, Seattle 2.0. You're going to be stuck in this wasteland where it's easier to bring in superstars when you have a superstar like KD there. I get that. But you're going to be stuck here against the Warriors. So I think it was honestly, it was a preemptive strike by Durant leaving, because I think he had the fear that Westbrook was going to leave.
Yeah, I'd say so. And those two guys are like best friends.
Right.
Like straight up bros.
Well, and, I was going to say, Lou, I hear you keep saying, stuck in OKC. And I'm sure that there is a factor of Oklahoma City is in the middle of the country. It's not a cosmopolitan city. Places like that have a tendency to be viewed as, oh, there's no nightlife, there's no culture, it's boring as hell. I've never been to Oklahoma City, but I've heard it's an absolutely fabulous city, and it's a bummer that cities get bad raps like that, because every city in this country you're going to be able to find tons of shit to do. But the fact of the matter is, paparazzi's not always going to be there, and these guys want to be where they're getting their pictures taken and all that.
That's the allure of playing for the Lakers. That's the allure of playing for the Yankees. That's the allure of playing for the Cowboys, because you have that paparazzi. You have that around you.
It certainly leads to an earning potential that would not be realized in these middle markets like Milwaukee.
An earning potential outside of the sport, you mean, like marketing and promotions and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
And movies.
Well,
and all
the thing is though, like, that city quite literally grew around the Thunder. Like, it's improved. I can't remember the numbers exactly, but they were I want to say the mayor of Oklahoma City, or maybe the governor of the state itself, basically said like there's a direct correlation between economic growth and the arrival of the Thunder, like from day one.
That's so good to hear. That I love stories like that.
Now also Chesapeake Energy moved their headquarters there, and I mean that had a lot to do with it too. So,
well, yeah, I'm sure it did, but also, like, Kevin Durant straight up built that city to where it's at, like, on his back and his skill, and not to, small business owners get the credit where it's due, and all this shit goes into an actual municipality, but like, Cleveland booms when LeBron's there.
Right.
It's not a secret. When he was gone, they had an economic downturn. And when he came back, suddenly people are in Cleveland doing things around sporting events because the best player on the planet's there. And now people are making more money because there's more tourism to see LeBron play and these fucking Cavaliers. And they're so great. Like, same thing happens to OKC. I have a buddy, Ryan, on the show. We all have a buddy, Ryan, on the show. He has flown to OKC at least once, I think it's 2 or 3 times now, to catch games. He doesn't know people, like, he's got, like, relatives there and shit, but he went for the game, and he went and spent his money at the game, and he went to Oklahoma City and probably went to a restaurant or, went to a store. He bought some apparel. This is a big deal. This is I don't know. Like, the same thing happens in Detroit when the teams are good there. Like, when the Tigers, during Tiger season, Detroit really buzzes. During football season, it really buzzes. When the Pistons are bad, downtown Detroit, like Auburn Hills, I guess it's Metro Detroit, not a lot going on there. It gets pretty dreary because there's 41 games a season there.
Right.
When the Pistons were good in their heyday, like Ben Wallace, Fear the Fro, like, that shit was crazy. And I was there. Like, so, yeah, it's just one of those things where I feel like in this situation, he kind of did totally let the city down, just like LeBron. And I feel like that's why it's such a sting, because he has a direct impact on the lives of people there, like, economically. It's super weird. We got into this position where people can swing entire,
economy.
cities.
Yeah,
Luckily, they have
amazing.
Russ. If they had lost both of them, it would have burned to the ground.
Hopefully they can get some kind of, unexpected signing or something.
Well, again, they do have a really good team. I really,
That's true.
really
That's
like
true.
Victor Oladipo, and I'm really actually. I think I know Steph statistically was amazing on offense last year. He was the number 1 player in, like, efficiency and scoring and all 3-point shooting, obviously, and all sorts of things. But I feel like Russell Westbrook is a better overall basketball player than Steph. And I like Oladipo just as much as I like Klay Thompson, and I like Enes Kanter more than Bogut, and I like Steven Adams just about as much as I like Draymond Green. That was still a good situation.
Jake, I agree with all that, but to answer the original question that you asked of what do we do with Russ at this point? In my opinion, if you're the Warriors here, or excuse me, if you're the Thunder, goddamn, fuck it, I'm done. There's only one team in the West now, and it's on my brain. If you're everybody's playing for second, all right. You have 2 teams. If you're the general manager of the Thunder, you have 2 teams. One of them is doing nothing but negotiating with Russell Westbrook to try and keep him there, and the other is doing nothing but shopping him as your contingency plan. Shopping him out to people, because if you can't let him walk, because if he does, and John, I know what you said about, hey, OKC, you hear it's a nice city. I go to OKC probably 5 or 6 times a year. I go there. It is a nice city. I mean, it's not an LA, it's not a Houston, it's not a Dallas, it's not a Miami or any of these big cities. It's not a big metropolitan, but it's a nice city. The problem is, it's just what you said. It's not fabulous. It's not fabulous. Glamorous like an LA or somewhere like that.
Cosmopolitan.
It's not a cosmopolitan. It's not a metropolitan area. And if you let Russell Westbrook walk at the end of the season, that becomes a wasteland. OKC becomes an absolute wasteland. There's no way they're going to be able to attract more stars to come in there. They're going to have to rely entirely on going into the draft and doing a good job there. And I don't think they're as talented as the Trailblazers, so I don't think they can do it. So you've got to shop him out, and you've got to get something for him. I think the way you go is you shop him out and you get picks, and you do your best to get him into the East, first of all. And you get picks and you get young talent. And that's what you've got to do with the guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually
him.
totally agree with you. I feel like your last day, like basically contract extensions, I think come like the latest you can do it is after the trade deadline. But if you don't trade him before the say the dunk contest in All-Star Weekend, or maybe the All-Star game, maybe that's the last.
So you're
day.
saying don't let it go down to the wire.
Well, you have 4 or 5 days after the All-Star game to trade. That's generally how it goes. I wouldn't trade him before the trade deadline because people get really desperate near the trade deadline, and they'll give you the best deal. But yeah, I'm shopping him all season. I'm starting, I think it's December 18th. You can start talking. I start December 18th, and I don't stop until mid-February, late February, when you can actually shop him. And then if he doesn't sign a deal with me for
4 years,
3 or more, I'd say 3 or more. It'd be a max bird year contract, basically.
Right. So it'd essentially be a 4 to 5 year deal.
Right. If he's not willing to give me that, which is fine, I'm getting literally as much value as I possibly can. And I'm thinking places that have this really young talent. The Lakers would probably make that deal, and you could get a really, really good core of players. You could get a Julius Randle and a D'Angelo Russell and 3 first-round picks for the next 3 years, I think. And they probably would give you a really good pick the first draft. You know what I mean? So that's 2 good players and a stash of picks. That's what you can ask for in this situation. He's worth it, too.
Right.
It's not even a bad deal.
And my logic of getting him into the East is, yes, the Lakers drafted number 2 this year, but in the East, you're going to have teams like the Sixers. You're going to have teams we all suspect that the Nets are still going to continue to be terrible. The way
I look at that is the talent that I can get from them, what's worth it, and the Lakers look like the place I would shop first, even though I want him out of the Western Conference. The Celtics are also a good place to try to get.
You're not going to get a quality pick.
Heat.
I was going for picks. You're not going to get a quality pick from the Celtics because the Celtics are going to be a playoff team. You're not going to get a quality pick out of that. You're going to get a quality pick out of somebody like the Sixers, who have proven they don't know what they're doing in the draft.
Or the Heat at this point have players like Justice Winslow, who's a really, really good player. And really young. I think he's like 19 or 20 now.
And I think from a fan
and Josh
perspective,
Richardson, like stuff like that. You can get these good players and still get reasonable picks from these teams. Because all they have is Hassan Whiteside at this point, and if Chris Bosh decides he can play, but Goran Dragic is he actually might get traded, but he's just a decent point guard.
Now that being said, to Ryan and all of the Thunder fans out there who listen to us, yeah. If Russ leaves the team, quite frankly, even if Russ is there, you're going to go through a couple of hard years before. Well, no, I take that back. You've got a lot of free agents that are going to hit. If you're able to keep
next year is ridiculous.
If you're able to keep Russ, you could be a really good team really quickly. You've already got a good core, and you've got a superstar in Russ. So if somehow you're able to convince him, hey, look, man, look at all these free agents that are going to hit, and you're able to keep him, then maybe you can keep things together. You
know what I've always liked is the idea that you could sell Westbrook to a team for all that shit and then re-sign him
a year later. Yeah, you could get stuff. That being said, I don't think but then you can't sign as many max guys because then he loses the bird years, so you can't bring him back in, so you can't go over. Anyway, point where I was going with that, you can't if he walks, whether he walks or whether you trade him. OKC fans, I want to let you know, you're in for a couple of hard years, okay? You might not be making the playoffs for a couple of years if he leaves, which I think Jake and I both agree he's either going to the Lakers out of his own doing, or he's going to be traded there, or he's going to wind up somewhere like in Philly or Jake throughout Boston. He's not going to be a member of the Thunder anymore.
Miami and LA seem like his places. New York has the room next year, which would be fun.
Which that's another thing we can talk about with D Wade.
I don't know. I don't know if he sounds like a New York.
He's a West Coast guy.
York guy.
He's
right?
a West Coast guy. He wants to go back to LA. My point is, Thunder fans, you are in for tough sledding for the next couple of years. Just no matter how you look at it. And that being said, David Aldridge of CBS Sports came out and he says with a tweet late yesterday on good authority, quote, "No way in hell Russell Westbrook re-signs an extension with the Thunder." So according to David Aldridge, who's pretty reputable, pretty credible guy, he's gone. So they've got to trade him.
For those skeptical, Russell Westbrook went to UCLA and is from Long Beach.
Yeah, he's a California guy. He's a West Coast guy.
Right.
So he
I think it shows. So does anyone have anything else before we move on to Dwayne Wade?
The thing I wanted to talk about before we leave KD and the entire Thunder Warriors saga is the reaction that came from people out there, the reaction that people gave to Wade. I mean, it shows you this is a lot more personal. We asked what was worse, LeBron or Wade. This was a lot more personal for the fans. LeBron or KD. This was a lot more personal for the fans. One, because of how they reacted. In Cleveland, they burnt your jerseys. You don't leave a team in the South. They have guns. They shoot your jersey is what they do. We saw those videos of guys, and that's what the next time one of you libtards asks me why I need an AR-15 with a 60-round drum, the reason why is because James Harden might leave the Rockets, and I gotta light his jersey up out in my backyard. That's why.
John, would you ever deface or destroy a player jersey just for leaving a team?
No.
I still have my
think
Johnny
man.
Manziel Browns jersey, or both of them hanging up in my closet. So I'm not. I haven't defaced those. But where I was going with that is, you've got all of the people out there, the way they've reacted to this, and I understand with Oklahoma. This hits Oklahoma a lot harder than Cleveland, because in Cleveland you've got other things. In Oklahoma City, in the state of Oklahoma, they've got the Thunder. And they've got Sooners football, and that's it, man. That is all that is in the state of Oklahoma. So for KD to leave, I mean, he was the face of athletics in the state of Oklahoma. And for him to be gone, that's huge for them. But some of the people, the way they've reacted has just been completely out there for me. With Charles Barkley coming after KD, Charles Barkley sends out a tweet, or Charles Barkley, there was a soundbite of him. He was caught up by TMZ Sports, and he said, it's really disappointing the way KD left the Thunder to go to the Warriors. He's just trying to chase a ring, and I think that's despicable. Dude, you're Charles fucking Barkley. You were given everything in Philadelphia. They unretired Billy Cunningham's number for you because you wanted to wear 32 to honor Magic Johnson when he was diagnosed with HIV. And you still, you told him that's what's going to keep me here. That's what's going to keep me happy. And a year later, you still demanded a trade. Dude, you went to the Suns, couldn't get it done against the Rockets in the Western Conference playoffs. So what do? You go to the Rockets. Dude, and granted, he was traded both times, but he demanded said trades. Charles, shut the fuck up. You have no room to talk to anyone about chasing a championship, okay? You have no room.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I'm trying to think of the maddest I've ever been at an athlete, and I really can't. I've never had that sort of connection to, like, maybe Barry Sanders when he retired, but I totally understood, like, the Lions are garbage.
Right.
I get it. Like, no one in Detroit in the fandom was like, "Oh, Calvin Johnson, you fucked us," because he gave us years and years of amazing play, and then was just like, "Man, I just can't do it anymore." So, maybe if he would have gone to Green Bay, we could have been mad. I guess I don't know.
I will say some of the reactions that players sent out were pretty funny, but probably my favorite was Spencer Dinwiddie, formerly of the Bulls, sent out a tweet shortly after it came out. He said, "Gulp, I guess we know what the illegal team is in 2K next year."
Yeah.
So yeah. I thought that was pretty comical. But
Andre Drummond sent a very similar thing.
Oh,
it was good.
I didn't see his, but
let's move on, since you brought up Spencer Dinwiddie, former Piston and current Bull, or was he? Is he still a former?
He's
Bull?
actually he was waived by the Bulls yesterday.
Womp womp.
That's why.
Dwayne Wade is now playing for the Bulls. Maybe he was a casualty of Dwayne Wade's signing. Because also Mike Dunleavy and
Dunleavy's gone too.
And that one point guard whose name I'm forgetting, Jose Calderon. They were kicked out too. He signed a 1-1. Same thing as Durant, and basically he's going to the Bulls.
25 a year.
I don't think the Bulls are going to be good though.
I think the Wadeless Heat are going to win more games than the Wade and Butler Bulls.
Wow.
I genuinely think that this year.
Yeah, the problem with the Bulls is they don't have any 3-point shooting now. I mean, they weren't going to have it anyway, but Dwayne Wade, Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler are all pretty, like, ISO guys. They don't have anyone to really kick it to except Nico
Left in the
Mirotic.
tank, really?
Rondo led the league in assists last year, man.
Yeah, is he going to be the guy there? Is he going to feed Jimmy Butler 13 times a game?
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's a fine. He's not the combo guard that we all expect out of the point guard position now, but he's that. Basically, I don't really care about the Bulls so much or this Dwayne Wade nonsense. Although it was interesting that the Heat really didn't sound like they wanted Dwayne Wade anymore because it was kind of a Kobe contract he was looking for. Like
he was looking for a lifer contract.
Right. Well, in all his years in Miami, he wasn't the top paid player once.
And that's personally why I don't have a problem with him leaving at all and going and chasing money.
Either.
Because he gave up 4 crucial earning years in his prime to bring in Bosch and James, despite the fact that during the not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, introduction that they did, he was still in the center. LeBron said, no, he sits in the center. This is his team. We're the new guys. Well, the new guys were making nearly $9 million a year more than he was. He gave up a shitload of money to bring them in.
Well, and when they re-signed, a lot of people don't remember, Dwayne Wade opted out of a contract.
LeBron fucked him.
And then LeBron left to Cleveland, and Dwayne Wade, because of the salary cap situation, got his max deal. But it was $10 million less than he would have.
Right, LeBron fucked him. I mean, let's not. And Wade blames a lot of that on Riley because Riley apparently was telling him as he was signing, yeah. We've got LeBron on the other line. He's totally, he's in, dude. So they blame Riley on that a lot because there was a lot of smoke and mirrors going on.
Pat Riley plays the game like it's still the 90s, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it worked for him for so long. I don't blame him continuing to try. I don't blame him.
Hassan Whiteside, he's a good player. He's a really good player, but he's a traditional 5.
Right, but he was going to get a max deal from 4 other teams. I mean, what do you do?
Let him sign someone else.
Okay.
You don't need. I don't know. Hassan Whiteside is a good player. He's not a great player, and he's not worth max money, in my opinion.
My deal is I have no problem with what Dwayne Wade did. If he wants to go after and chase the money for a year, he deserves it. He gave up, like I said, in the prime of his career, 4 crucial earning years, he gave up, nearly $9 million a year, or you said nearly $10 million a year, over $9 million a year he was giving up. I've got no problem with the amount of money that he's going after. I mean, look, Gabrielle wants that place in Madrid, and she wants that little summer getaway in Belize. I get it.
Gabrielle Union can have whatever she wants. She's gorgeous.
You still gotta pay the tax man, okay? So
to be fair, Dwayne Wade is also gorgeous. Have you seen the body issue?
Truth be told, he's better looking than her. Really?
No, that's fucking ridiculous.
No.
You're just super gay, which is fine. I support you. Let's just put our tinfoil hats on for a second. These 2 deals are both 1-and-1s. Both for max contracts. They're making their money right when they can.
Oh, boy.
Obviously, Durant is chasing a ring. But hear me out. Super Knicks.
The Super Knicks team.
The Super Knicks. So next year, after this season, the contracts that are expiring are crazy. The only one really of that, that draft class left on their team and under contract would be Carmelo Anthony. That was it the 03 or 03 draft, 02 draft? Yeah.
No, it was the 03.
Yeah, and so Carmelo.
I was about to say, you're from Detroit. You should know that draft really well.
Excuse me, we do not talk about that person.
You should know the 03 draft really well.
He who shall
Detroit.
not be named. I wanted Dwayne Wade, for the record. Although I don't think we win a championship if someone like Carmelo's on the team. But maybe we're scoring more points and he doesn't. And Tayshaun doesn't need to block.
Whether you took Melo, Wade, it didn't matter who you took in that draft.
Stop.
You couldn't do
Just
it
don't.
wrong. Oh, wait, unless you're Detroit. That's the only way you could do it wrong.
You went to school with Johnny Manziel.
I'm like 5 years older than him. No, I did not.
Yeah. Anyway, so Carmelo Anthony will be in New York. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis, who is a good player, he'll have like 1 more year on his rookie deal. But then LeBron James is gone. Can be gone. He might stay.
Noah will have 2 years left.
At least at this point, he hasn't re-signed another contract. Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, obviously Kevin Durant right here. All of these players can move, and with the exception of Kevin Durant, LeBron James has said on the record he would like to finish his career playing with those people, his best friends. It could totally fucking happen, couldn't it? Or they could trade Kevin Love to New York for Carmelo, and they could have the Super Cavs. But because I'd rather have Kyrie. But
if they're afraid that LeBron is going to leave, then they're going to hold on to Kevin Love as much as they can. They're going to try and get him into the West.
I would trade Kevin Love today to the Bulls.
That being said,
Jimmy Butler.
I would love to see that. You know what I wanted to see, and here's my idea that I've had ever since LeBron won his second ring in, what was that? Was that 2013 when he won the second ring with the Heat?
Nah, I don't know.
2013 or 2014,
probably.
whatever year it was that they beat the Spurs, where they came back unbelievably in Game 6. When
Ray
everybody
Allen
was walking out, when Ray Allen had the dagger there in the corner.
Sure.
What I wanted to see LeBron do at that point was I wanted him to go to Cleveland and win a championship there, and he's done that now. And then go on the LeBron tour and sign a LeBron deal with different teams and say, you know what, I'm good enough. I'm going to go get the Portland Trailblazers deserve a championship. I'm going to go to Portland, win them a championship. You know what? OKC deserves a championship. I'm going to go to OKC and get them a championship. You know what? Fucking
Magic.
The Magic deserve a championship, or the Lakers. Oh no, fuck the Lakers. Or the Clippers deserve a championship. And he would just go and he would sign LeBron deals for the last 5 years of his career. He would play for 5 different teams. You know what? The Kings deserve a championship. I'm going to go to Sacramento. I wanted to see him go on the LeBron World Tour and just win a championship everywhere. I thought that would have been awesome.
That'd be so fucking hard on a person.
Oh, that'd be great, dude. That'd be so great to see. No, I'll put it this way, you know, and I know I kind of got some heat from David about my Super Knicks. You know, I said the term Super Knicks in our WhatsApp chat before the show started, and he kind of laughed it out. I'll put it this way: name a team that's in better cap position with all their expiring contracts. Name a team that's in better position besides the Knicks next year.
I'm pretty sure they're the cleanest team in the NBA.
You
next
can't
season,
name
right?
a team that's going to have more money to spend and still have some core guys like Melo, and if you want to consider a Noah part of that, because he's still going to have 2 years left on his deal, you're not going to find a team that's in better position with their money next year than the Knicks. You're just not. So
yeah, and plus the cap's going up again. So
what's it going up again? Another $9 million next year?
It's something crazy. It's
well, no.
it's
This year was
ridiculous.
the crazy one. This year was $24 million. Next year, I think, is 9, or is it 12?
Yeah, but that's approaching 10. Like if it's double digits, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's another player, like per team, and they just expanded the active rosters this last season to 13.
That's
12.
nearly another Mozgov.
Almost another Mozgov, which we will get to. Why don't we do that right now? Let's tell you what. That's a good parlay. We're gonna make this a thing. If you don't know, Timothy Mozgov, formerly a Cavalier, Timothy Mozgov, got signed by the LA Lakers for how much, Lou?
4 years, $64 million, and for the
Too many dollars.
For the arithmetically challenged out there, that is $16 million a year for the guy who was ranked the 75th out of 76 active centers last year.
Hang on a second. Did you just say arithmetically?
Arithmetically.
Yeah. Arithmetically?
Say it again.
Arithmetically.
I think you said arithmetically the first time.
Stupid at math is what I meant, okay? Fucking idiots at math. That's $16 million a year. Hey,
yeah. You're bad at math like Lou's bad at words. It's fine. You guys understand each other.
Hey, Lou, let's do a podcast together where the thing is that we talk. Oh, by the way, you're bad at words. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, I set you up for failure.
You really
I'm sorry,
did.
man.
I mean, you brought me on to be your sideshow. So,
yeah.
Getting
so
into the world...
hold on.
Sorry?
We got to set this up. Here is the segment that we are calling, What Does Timothy Mozgov Make More Than?
We got to create a whole segment.
Take her away, Lou.
We're going to have to create some music. So, you guys are
okay,
aware...
I'll tell you what. I'll hit you with music.
There we go. So, you guys are aware there's this thing that is still limping along in popularity here in the United States called Major League Baseball, right? You're aware
I
of this
do.
thing?
Yes,
limping.
Major League Baseball.
Limping along.
Right. It's
terrible.
So I was unaware. They don't just make hats. There's actually still the game of baseball is still played. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, it is.
So with the All-Star selection, with the All-Star ballots coming out yesterday, we have all the starters. Obviously there's still the fan vote for the last guy on each team, for the last reserve on each team. Come on. You need to get George Springer in there. We need 3 Astros on the All-Star team. We're the hottest team in baseball right now.
Ian Kinsler, please.
Right there. So, took a look at a couple of things, and we're going to take a look at a couple of things regarding Mozgov's $16 million that he's going to earn this year versus the All-Star game. I'm going to name off I'm going to name off a couple of names for you, and I want you to tell me what these guys have in common. Salvador Perez, Eric Hosmer, Jose Altuve, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts. What am I naming?
Bogarts?
Bogarts, sorry.
You mean Bogarts?
I was reading on 2 different things. What do all of those guys have in common? They are the starting infield for the American League. let's take all of their contracts this year and add them up and see how much it is. It's $14.2 million those guys are going to make.
The starting infield for the American League All-Star Game makes less than Timothy Mozgov.
The top 5 American League ball players are going to make less money combined this year, and that includes Jose Altuve, who is the front-runner right now for the AL MVP, are going to combined make less money than him. In fact, the only starter...
Timothy Mozgov, who was, again, 75th out of 76 eligible graded centers in the NBA last season.
The only guy on the American League who is going to make less money, or who will make more money than Mozgov next year, is going to be Mike Trout, arguably one of the 4 best players in Major League Baseball right now. So the only,
how much is his salary?
His salary is about $19 million a year.
I was gonna say he's got to be in the 20s.
Yeah, it's
which is almost a max contract in the NBA.
He's making $19 million. It's like $19.7 million a year. So he's walking away with about $19.7. Everyone else, including David Ortiz. Now, granted, in the American League, the argument you can make is, well, look at the youth explosion you've got. You've got a whole bunch of guys who are still on their first contract. Granted, you know, Jackie Bradley's going to get paid like crazy next year. Mookie Betts is going to get paid like crazy next year. We get that. Sure. But just take that into consideration. The entire outfield minus Mike Trout, and then the combined, and then the entire infield of the AL All-Star team will make less money than Timothy Mozgov.
So the infield plus the left and right fielders.
Well, once you add in Bradley, it gets over the hump.
Oh,
but here's
just barely.
But here's my point where I was going with that. I said this to someone earlier today, and they said, "Well, a lot of those guys are still on their rookie contracts." Okay, I get that. You know who's not a rookie? The LA Lakers are not rookies at this point, and you gave $16 million to Timothy Mozgov.
Yeah.
No! If we take a look at the NL, with the exception of a couple of guys, obviously Anthony Rizzo is making more money than that. Obviously Buster Posey, former MVP, is making more money than that. Yoenis Cespedes is making more money than that. But when you take a look at a couple of guys like Bryce Harper hasn't gotten stupid paid yet. Dexter Fowler, he hasn't gotten stupid paid yet. Chris Bryant is going through arbitration right now. Half of the NL All-Star team is going to combined make less money than him. If you take out a couple of guys, like I said, like Rizzo and Cespedes, half the team combined is going to make less money. So, LA Lakers, when we're watching the All-Star game this year, and you're seeing Jose Altuve, and you're seeing Hosmer, and you're seeing Mookie Betts, when you're seeing these guys out there, guys who are at the top of their game, you paid more for a guy who wears backwards jerseys in beer commercials. Shame on you. With no context. With no context as to why that's funny. Shame on you, LA.
Thank you. And this was... Who makes less than Timothy Mozgov? You're welcome.
So my girlfriend, when I was walking in, she is her favorite movie from her childhood is The Little Mermaid, and I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen the whole thing until the other day, and I watched it. I didn't realize how old Ariel was, and they make a comment that she's 16 years old in the movie. Mm-hmm. Knowing that, and I'm typically not one of these super feminist, guys on YouTube and stuff like that. How the hell is this movie not being called out by all these like crazy feminist people? The plot of the movie is, I want this guy and I want to shack up with him. Oh wait, I can't speak to him. What am I going to do to get his attention? Oh, I know. Use my body entirely to get his attention.
Yeah, well,
that's the plot of the movie.
And on top of that, they don't take the original tale where she chooses to go up and get legs, except anytime she has her legs, her human legs, they hurt. They're in pain the whole time, like excruciating pain.
Yeah,
because it's one of those like Satan deals.
So
where give you legs, but they're gonna fucking hurt all the time.
I was tricky. Just shocked to know that the plot of a movie that little girls around, and there's actually a line where Ursula in the movie says, where the bad guy in the movie says, or when Ariel asks her, well, how am I supposed to get him to fall in love with me if I can't speak? She says, use your assets, honey. That's a line in a Disney movie that little girls around the world grow up loving.
You know who they had more assets? UFC 200.
Ouch.
Such a good transition.
That was a
You're welcome.
heavy weight transition.
Yeah.
So,
you're
John,
right.
are you ready to start drinking?
Fucking hell, man.
So the UFC 200 has lost. Months ago, they lost the Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz fight. Was it today, as of this recording, they lost John Jones versus Daniel Cormier, meaning the big fight left on the ticket is Brock Lesnar, who hasn't fought since, what, UFC 141 or something?
It's been like 3 years.
And Hunt. Yeah. And what, Mark Hunt?
And Mark Hunt.
So guys, you're both big UFC fans. I'm going to let you take the floor here. What the fuck, man?
First of all, I disagree that the Lesnar Hunt fight's the big fight left on the ticket. I actually think it's the Miesha Tate fight, personally. I think that's the biggest fight on the ticket.
I would say Rafael and Frankie Edgar is the big fight for me. I mean, that's the one that has the most implications
that's going to
moving forward.
You're right.
I mean, that's the thing. It's amazing how, for those of you who are not UFC fans, if you're familiar with the story of the little engine that could, I think I can get over this hill, I can get past these hurdles, I can get over that mountain, I can make that bend. The UFC 200, because of all the crap that's been thrown in its way, is imagine the little engine that could, and he comes down the mountain, and he finds out that his wife has left him for his best friend, and he's then diagnosed with leukemia. That is the analogy
God damn it.
I will give you for what UFC 200 is. It is a total dumpster fire.
It's still not quite as sad as the beginning of Up.
So John, this is kind of one of your wheelhouse things. What do they do? What do they got to do to make UFC 200 a viable situation here?
I don't think that there is really anything that can be done to salvage 200. I think it's still going to be a decent fight, but I think at this point 200's that bed's been made. I've been racking my brain all day trying to figure out how you recover from this, and I don't know a good answer, because no matter what Dana White tries to do, he's going to run into a situation where he's going to have a fighter that can get injured. He's going to have a fighter that could get caught for doping again. I don't know. I really don't. I'm at a loss for words, and I'm usually one of these guys that's ready to go, we got to do this, and Nope. I have no fucking clue.
So
this boggles. This feels unprecedented to me. How bad the situation has gotten for this fight.
It sounds unprecedented by everyone's reaction, because I'm not a big UFC guy. But Lou, how the fuck did you get to this point? If this is the biggest fuck up in UFC history, basically, how does this happen?
Well, it happened through the best of intentions. So, Jake, you mentioned, the first thing that they lose, the original main event planned 6 months ago. Well, actually, really, it was planned for a while, but really where the wheels came off was in March when McGregor was, I'll use the word humbled by Nate Diaz. For those of you who don't know, Conor McGregor, pound for pound, I would say the second best fighter in the world after John Jones, who was suspended yesterday. One of the best fighters in the world, but he doesn't sell pay-per-views because of his fighting ability. He sells pay-per-views because of the shit talking that he does, and he gets people interested.
The dude can smack with the best of them. He's my favorite smack talker in sports.
Oh, he's the best. He's a featherweight. He's a feather and a welterweight. But he's a featherweight and a welterweight, but when it comes to shit talking, he is the undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world of shit talking.
Right. Which was Muhammad Ali's shit too, by the way.
He blows Muhammad Ali out of the water. Now,
isn't that crazy?
For those, and what's funny is all of the MMA purists out there, which I've been an MMA fan for about a year and a half, but for all the purists who like to separate MMA from pro wrestling, and I don't compare the two. One's actually a sport, the other's not. For as much as they like to separate themselves from pro wrestling, people don't buy MMA fights to see the fight. You buy it because you think two guys are actually going to kill each other because of the shit that they've been talking. For as un-WWE as they want to be, they're really WWE. They're better at being WWE than WWE is at this point and generating people's interest.
Let me ask you a question along those lines, though, Lou. If you're going to look at it that way, and I think that's actually an interesting way to look at it, Could this possibly have been a good thing then? Does this become a wrestling promo for them?
Well, yes and no. It depends on what happens with Jon Jones. And so let me back up. So real quick version, Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz are going to be the headliner of this fight, or they're going to be the headliner of this card, their rematch. Conor McGregor, for those of you who don't know, he's the featherweight champion. His featherweight champion. Featherweight championship is 136 to 145. Fighting in that division. He's wanting to go after pounds. He wants to go after the lightweight title. Well, a couple of different things happen. Dos Anjos ends up getting hurt. And things don't end up working out. He can't. They can't compete. So we end up. Or excuse me, did I say Rafael earlier? I meant to say Aldo. I was so confused. No, Aldo is going up against Edgar. So you've got him. He's going after another belt. He can't get it. So he says, you know what? I'm going to actually go up an even higher level. I'm going to go after the welterweight. Go after the welterweight division because he's killed the featherweight division. The featherweight division, no one there can compete with him. So he says, I'm going to go after the welterweight division. They end up throwing Nate Diaz into that fight. Conor McGregor puts on something like 21 pounds of muscle. Fucking insane. In the course of a few months, he puts on all this weight. Everybody thinks he's going to go out there and just embarrass Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz humbles him. He makes him tap out in the second round. It was a shock heard around the world. That was also the same night that Holly Holm dropped the belt in her first defense to Miesha Tate. And you have Dana White come and say, okay, the rematch between Nate Diaz and Conor is going to be at UFC 200. Conor says, that's fine. I'm not going to go out there and talk a whole bunch of shit this time. I'm going to dedicate myself 100% to training. I'm not going to go out there and make a big show. I don't want to do the media days. I don't want to do the media promotion. And Dana said, what are you talking about? You have to do the media promotion. He said, you have to give us the red panties. You got to give us the red panty night. You have to. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to skip all the media stuff. So he said, fine, you're not in. You're being pulled from the card. So that ends up getting pulled. They put Jon Jones and DC in that spot, which, granted, that's the fight we all want to see. That's the better redemption story that we all want to see.
That's what I was just going to say. This is supposed to be Jon Jones's redemption.
Jon Jones, for those of you who don't know, Jon Jones has a pretty checkered past, not only of using drugs and partying like crazy, and in fact, he was at the height of his partying when he and DC met up, back in 2013, John?
2013? 2012.
2012, yeah, you're right. So you've got now he's been suspended, and so now we've lost two main events from what is supposed to be the biggest show in UFC history. They've made it to 200 pay-per-views, and now Brock Lesnar, a part-timer, and Mark Hunt, who is no slouch, but he's just a guy. He's nobody special, is going to headline this show, and that's just heartbreaking to know what this show should have been. And the fact that it happened at the last minute. Imagine Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are playing each other in the Super Bowl, and one of them gets suspended 2 days before the Super Bowl. That's what just happened here.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable analogy.
John, are you brokenhearted about this, or are you still buying it? I know you purchased it, but are you going to?
I'm still watching the fight because I'll be honest with you. I kind of set up Lou for the question about the UFC, this situation being like a wrestling promo, because I want to see how this drama unfolds. I really do. I want to see what the UFC, how Dana White is going to react to this, how the Zuffa brothers, how Zuffa is going to react to all of this. I really want to see it.
And for the record, Dana White, and we're 2 days away at the time of this recording. When you listen to this will be happening. He says Daniel Cormier will be fighting. He doesn't have an opponent right now.
He doesn't have an opponent, and they're naming guys who aren't necessarily in his weight class. I mean, you've got a handful of guys who've come out. Now, I know that, Michael Bisping, who's the middleweight, champion, he says he wants to go. Dana came out on the Cowherd show today and was actually pretty critical of him. Not anything that was untrue. He came out and said, do you know what Bisping does after he fights? That guy goes on a total bender. He's not training right now. He's not in shape to go out and have a fight. That guy's getting trashed.
Bisping says he is, though. Bisping
says he's ready to go.
So did McGregor, by the way. Conor McGregor said, I'm ready. I'm here waiting.
Yeah, that's about a 20-pound weight difference. That's not going to happen.
Obviously, he doesn't give a shit.
John, I'm
But
sorry, go ahead.
Didn't they just do a presser today for like UFC 203?
Yeah, for 203, where Nate
McGregor,
and that's what's happened.
Diaz,
Nate Diaz and McGregor are now going to headline 203, which, you know what?
How many? Okay, so how long is that in between? Are they once a month?
Yeah, once a month. So that's going to be in October.
Right.
So how bad do you think Dana White is sitting there, though, and saying, you know, how important is media day after all? You know, I've really fucked myself here. And I'll tell you this, Dana White...
Can you imagine if the card would have been McGregor, Diaz, Jones, Cormier, Lesnar, Hunt, was it Holly Holm and what's her face, Misha Tate?
No, not Holly Holm and Misha Tate. Misha Tate and Nunes.
Okay, all on the same card though?
Oh, it would have been... You wouldn't have ever been able to top that. You literally couldn't have ever topped
exactly.
it.
But why does he have to be... Like, I understand that Conor McGregor makes you money by talking shit, but if you have new focused Conor McGregor, isn't that just as interesting?
Yes, it is.
Like, why the fuck... Why does... I don't know. Dana White, to me, has always been a really good businessman. It just, from what you guys are telling me, this sounds ridiculous. This sounds like he's, like, resting on his laurels and trying to be, like, this... You know, I'm Dana White, I'm in charge sort of power play bullshit, and it's really not working for him.
Well, and I'll tell you this is how this all came about as far as John Jones getting suspended. UFC did the right thing in that 2 years ago they took it upon themselves because there was a whole lot of they were being criticized left and right about guys who were doping and guys who were juicing, and
sure.
Well, I mean, shit, they're your own employee. If they're juicing and you catch them, you know, who cares? What are you going to do to them? So Dana White, in an attempt to clean up MMA, he said, you know what? We are not going to be involved in our drug testing anymore. We are outsourcing it 100% to USDA. We are giving it entirely to the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. They are going to handle everything for us. So he made the right call. But here's the thing. When you're Dana White, you knew this was a potential that this could happen. You knew that this was something that could happen at one point. So at the end of the day, I applaud you for doing the right thing, but you knew that something like this could happen, and you banked on, and you weren't willing to negotiate with Conor McGregor because he wasn't going to give up. And that's the other thing. Conor McGregor, because of how good he's gotten at shit talking, he's built himself up to a point where now, Conor, we need you to go out there and talk about Red Panty Night. We need you to go out there and talk about, I'll make your life. By you losing to me, I'll make you rich. We need you to go out and talk shit to these guys to sell the pay-per-view. So he's almost put himself in a position where he has to do it. And I tell you, Dana, this is on you. This is 100% on you, Dana White. Entirely. You did the right thing. You did the right thing by cleaning up the sport, but man, you fucked up.
Are you buying it, Lou?
Yeah, I mean, mainly because I can't get my money back at this point. I'm buying it. So, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Yeah, but that being said, you know, they're giving out refunds right now because Nevada state law, this is going on in Vegas, this is going on at the MGM. Nevada state law says that you have to give out refunds if the card changes at all. Not every state is like that, but Nevada is. I can't imagine too many people are going to say, you know what, I'm not going to go to UFC 200, the 200th show. I've already bought my plane tickets. I've already got my hotel. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to go to the event now. I can't imagine there's too many people that are going to be asking for refunds. And if they do, there's going to be plenty of people that'll buy those tickets.
Oh, yeah. It's a weird thing because it feels like this was a big enough thing that the UFC should suffer some consequences. But I don't necessarily think that they will, based on how Dana and the Zuffa brothers handle this going forward. Because, Lou, I think you're absolutely right. He did the right thing by saying, I don't want to have the same problems that other fighting sports have had in the past. I'm going to put it all on the doping agency and let them handle it. And then I can say, look, we put it's, you know, right square and are as transparent as possible.
The fox isn't watching the hen house anymore. We're completely out of it.
Exactly. And so I think that's a completely admirable thing. And I really, really hope it just, because you're right, it did kind of lead to a snowballing effect of a whole bunch of really bad things happening in a row. It's going to be interesting to see how they recover, because I think he can. I don't know how, but I mean, there's got to be a way to.
Now, for those of you who don't understand exactly how this works, Cormier is the current light heavyweight champion, and John Jones is the interim champion. And the way that works is if you have, like, for example, Conor McGregor right now is the featherweight champion. He's not defending his belt. He's going after the welterweight class. That's what he and Nate Diaz are going. He's trying to move into another class because he feels that, and he's rightfully so, he's destroyed the featherweight division. Nobody there can keep up with him. So Jose Aldo, who McGregor beat in 13 seconds back in December, Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar, which is the fight I'm looking forward to the most, are going to be going at it for the interim featherweight championship. And then essentially what's going to happen, whether it happens in 6 months, whether it happens in a year, we don't know. They will end up fighting. Conor will cut weight. He'll go back down. He's the true champion. Whichever one of them is the interim champion, they'll face, and they'll have a unification match. That's what was supposed to be going on between DC and Jones. They were supposed to be having a unification match. DC won the title while Jones was on his suspension for 6 months. Jones comes in, DC ends up breaking his foot. They can't have their fight, so Jones goes after and wins the interim championship 5 months ago, 6 months ago. It was like 6-7 months ago, whenever that was. I think that was back in November. Ends up winning the interim championship.
You could lie to us. We wouldn't know.
So this was supposed to be a unification match, which is a really big deal. John Jones is pound for pound the single greatest fighter. I consider him to be undefeated. He has quote unquote lost a match. He was disqualified for using illegal elbows. He's never been beat. And until someone puts him on his ass, he's the best fighter in the world. And for him to do this, he's facing a 2-year suspension. And at the age of 28, 30 years old to come back into the sport is not too old to play. That's not like coming back as a 45-year-old. He's not Ken Shamrock or something. But in 2 years,
but that's 2 prime years and no active fighting.
John, if he ends up getting hit with a 2-year suspension, they've got to take the interim belt off him, right? I mean, there's no way he holds an interim title for 2 years, right?
Yeah, I think that the Cormier fight will end up being probably, if it it's supposed to happen, it'll end up being a catchweight. So I think, you just unify the belt and make Cormier the champion and move forward from there, and then.
Which, for as much as we're disappointed...
Otherwise, what do you do? You're setting up a fight to figure out, okay, these two contenders are going to fight for the interim so that they can then fight for a chance to fight for the unification of the belt. It seems like with a 2-year suspension, you could just skip the whole thing and unify the belt by removing
and as long as
John
Cormier
Jones's name.
doesn't get hurt and he continues to defend the title, there's no reason for the interim to exist. The only reason that Aldo and Edgar are going for the interim featherweight title is because McGregor has made it clear. I'm going after, I'm going after the lightweight and the welterweight titles. I want to be the first guy to walk around with 3 belts at one time. He's made it clear. I don't care about the featherweight division. I've crushed it. It doesn't matter to me anymore.
He's vacated.
But he's not going to give up the belt because it raises his pay-per-view buys. He's not going to just give up the belt to move on somewhere else. As he puts it, as Conor McGregor puts it, I fight at 145, but I like walking around at 155 because this belt weighs 10 pounds. He likes walking around with the belt. That being said, John, which fight? Well, you said the fight that you're looking forward to the most is Tate and Nunes.
Honestly, I had honestly forgotten that Aldo, Edgar. I had forgotten that fight was going on, and that I'm really, really looking forward to that fight.
What do you want to see? I'm not saying what match do you want to see. What event or what do you want to see happen? Whether it's a surprise fighter to go up against Cormier or whether it's what do you want to see happen out of this? What result do you want to see more than anything else?
I want to see Brock Lesnar beat Hunt in the first round.
Really?
Because it's a heavyweight thing and they kick the shit out of each other.
Because those two, it will be 2 mountains being smashed together. I want to see
those big fights are hard to watch after round 2.
Yeah, because they get really sluggish, really fast. I want to see do you remember what Brock Lesnar did to Frank Mir's face when he finally got a hold of him?
Oh, he destroyed it.
You remember that?
You remember? It still doesn't look right. He still has the scar on the side of his face. It's never grown back properly.
I want to see a fight like that out of the heavyweights. And actually, I'll take it back. I don't care which one wins. I just want to see. It feels to me like it's been a long time since the heavyweights have really mattered.
Well, it has, and the reason for that is with the incredible rivalry that we've had between DC and Jones, between the incredible run that McGregor has been on for the past year and a half. That's why it's taken a lot of shine away from the heavyweights. I mean, goddamn, the current, let's take a look at it. The the current heavyweight champion is Stipe, and I always have a problem saying his last name. It's Mosick, is a goddamn paramedic. Is his full time? He has a full-time job. He's a paramedic, and he was just a guy who'd had a handful of fights, and he says, "Hey, you know what? I've earned an opportunity. I'm going to go after." And not a handful. I mean, he's had 17 fights. He wins it. He's a full-time paramedic and firefighter. That's what's going on in the heavyweight division. It doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the featherweights. It's all about the lighter guys because people want to see a quality match. People don't want to see a one-shot knockout, which is what you could very well get. You could get a one-punch knockout from either Lesnar or Hunt.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I want to see. I want the heavyweight. I don't care that it's a guest fighter in Brock Lesnar. I want to finally, because just feels to me like it's been so freaking long. I want to see a fight where I go, that's why these motherfuckers are the baddest ones on the planet. Because they're fighting, they weighed 265 pounds yesterday. They probably weigh more like 285 right now. And they're just fucking pummeling on each other. I want to see a volcano versus Mount Everest.
If someone dies in a fight, it's going to be a heavyweight fight. If someone eventually dies in the UFC octagon, it will be a heavyweight fighter.
Has that never happened?
Not in UFC, no.
Not in UFC, no. And
I think didn't a couple of guys die in Russia when Pride went over to Russia? I don't know. Again,
that sounds about right.
There was a guy that died in one of the lower fight leagues here a couple years ago, and I can't remember his name. It doesn't happen very often, but it has happened. But I will tell you one thing, Lou. I think there is a way that you could top the card we were talking about earlier for UFC 200. I think there's only one way you do it. You get Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock in a rematch for UFC 200.
Oh, my God. Can they make it to the ring? Like, can they walk down the aisle to get there at this point?
No, I know what it would be. I know it would sell. I'd buy a fucking thing, and it would be Floyd Mayweather versus Ronda Rousey.
Oh my God,
I'd watch the fuck out of that
I
fight.
would too, but I do also understand why
it'll never happen.
Why it'll never happen. But it would be
not
fun
in UFC.
to watch.
I don't think UFC will ever do it, but I think you could get like, I don't know, Bellator or someone to be like,
they're clutching
to it right and be like, hey,
no athletic commission.
We'll give you all the money. You don't think that? Come on, they weigh about the same. I feel like it would work. And if they both agree to it and sign waivers and all that shit, I think Ronda Rousey would whoop the fuck out of him. He's never fought on the ground before. All she has to do is tackle his ass and he's done. He's a pussy. He's just a really, really good boxer, but he's a pussy. Lou would have a shot in a UFC fight against Floyd Mayweather if you gave Lou a year to prepare. I'm just saying.
Is this a? You know what? Hey, get us to 1 million subscribers, and I'll start training.
Yeah, okay.
But okay. Well, to answer that question, John, if you'll give me just a minute, the one thing that I want to see is, quite frankly, something that women's MMA needs right now. I think
lower the rim. No, that's the WNBA.
That's the WNBA, not women's MMA. I think what I want to see more than anything else is to see, and this is not a pro Tate and an anti Amanda Nunes thing at all. I want to see Miesha Tate go out there and get a finish in decisive fashion. I want to see a second round rear naked choke, submission or technical submission. I want to see a knockout.
Sounds hot.
I want to see a decisive finish. I don't want it to go down to a decision in that women's bantamweight title match, and I'll tell you why. We've got to see Miesha Tate go out there and be dominant, because what happens a year ago? A year ago, granted, the best pound-for-pound fighter was John Jones. We get that. Second best fighter pound for pound, and people can argue this back and forth, was Conor McGregor. The most recognized fighter in the world. If you took 100 people that had never watched UFC and you lined them up, I guarantee you 95% of them would say Ronda Rousey. If you said, name me a UFC fighter, Ronda Rousey. My mom can't tell you where Conor McGregor is from. She can't tell you what's heavier, a welterweight or a light heavyweight. She can't tell you those things, but she can tell you whether it's Calvin Klein or Victoria's Secret ads that Ronda Rousey's going to be appearing in. She was so important for the UFC, not as far as bringing in pay-per-view buys, but as far as marketing and just brand awareness globally. She was the most important person in the history of the sport. She's on this dominant run. In December, in November, she ends up losing to Holly Holm. And what's the world say? Oh my God, it's the biggest moment in women's MMA. The beast has been beaten. The queen has been dethroned. Is Holly Holm the new, great giant in the sport? She's going to go on and have 2 or 3 defenses in 2016. And
she immediately loses.
She's going to go on and have 3 or 4 defenses. And then Rousey's going to come back in early 2017 to... Wait, what? She lost? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, she lost after like 2 or 3 defenses, right? Her very next fight? Well, it's some up-and-comer that we don't know about, right? Who's going to set the world... Oh, Miesha Tate, that girl who Ronda Rousey has already beat twice in the past. So, the girl who beat the most dominant fighter in the history of the division just lost to a girl who the most dominant fighter in the history of the division has crushed 2 times already. Yeah. So the problem is, if they continue to play hot potato with this strap and it continues to go around, what happens is, and come get me, feminists who take this out of context.
Hey, for reference, strap means belt.
Strap means belt.
The title belt.
If they continue to play hot potato with this thing, what ends up happening is all of the women in this division, if they can all beat each other, they just become interchangeable. They all become, from a marketing and from a fight standpoint, worthless, because if they can all beat each other, there's not a dominant champion. And for as much as MMA guys like to say, oh, we just want to see competition, bullshit. Every baseball purist loves to still see home runs. Everybody digs the long ball. Everybody digs a knockout artist. People want to see that. No matter how much of a purist you are, you want to see that. That's what generates buys. That's what generates people coming to the dance. That's what generates eyeballs on the product, is a star. If you just have 10 different women who are going to beat each other over the course of the next 3 years for the belt, you don't have a star who you can market out of that. And so I think for the sake of women's MMA in general, Miesha Tate needs to go on a run. I'm talking a dominant run until Rousey comes back early to mid 2017. She needs to go on 2 or 3 defenses and win in dominant fashion to restore some credibility.
Is it weird that I'm turned on about this women's beating other women up thing?
If you're turned on now, wait until I start talking about Sage Northcutt. Ooh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, we can talk about Sage Northcutt.
No, we don't need to talk about
minutes.
Sage Northcutt.
You have 5 minutes to talk about Sage Northcutt, and then I'm moving on away from the UFC, and we're never talking about it again.
I can't talk about Sage Northcutt for 5 minutes because I'll finish after 30 seconds. I can't last that long when I start talking about him. Oof.
People of the internet, please Google Sage Northcutt.
He's gorgeous.
Because he is gorgeous. He's a good-looking dude. Is he even legal?
He is 20 years old.
He's barely legal.
He's barely legal. He's a petroleum engineering student at Texas A&M.
You know what I just imagined? I imagined you introducing Sage Northcutt, and then there's just a big black leather couch in the background.
I've got my casting couch right here. That's what you're hearing. But before we get off of UFC, I'm still going to be, to answer your question, Jake.
We're off of UFC. We're off.
I'm still going to watch 200. It's the biggest. It's the biggest card in the history of the company. I don't care that it's still a super card. The issue is the centerpiece has been taken away. You can still have a great Thanksgiving dinner with awesome green bean casserole and cherry pie and mashed potatoes and yams. But if you take away the turkey, the thing we were all looking forward to, it kind of ruins Thanksgiving. And that's what's happened here for me.
I'll just put a quick bow on it. I am watching because I want to see the drama unfold. I'm very interested to see how Dana and the Zuffer brothers handle all of this. It's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting.
So enough about your sexy situation with Sage Northcutt, and by sexy situation I mean you privately masturbating to pictures of him bending a frying pan.
It's not private by any means. I have shared this openly on social media. This is not private.
Okay, we have breaking news. Please don't go look for his fat videos. Breaking news out of the UFC. John, what's the breaking news?
Anderson Silva to fight Daniel Cormier in UFC 200. That fucking fight is going to be amazing. I am wet. I am wet for that fight.
So you guys are excited about this. This is a good thing. He's not going to break his leg while it wraps around the other person's body.
I mean, look, I'm here. Here's how I feel about this. I'm happy for Cormier. I'm happy for DC because the biggest thing that we were all wondering is, oh wow, what's going to happen to his to his fight bonus. What's going to happen? That's nearly $500,000 this guy was going to lose out on. So hopefully he's going to get everything that was coming to him.
Dana White said he would get paid the same amount of money whoever he fights.
Okay. Well, hopefully not only that, but the other thing is what matters in UFC is who's the main event, because whoever the main event is gets to put on their resume, I had X thousand or I had X million buys for this pay-per-view. So hopefully that is re-promoted back to the main event, because Mark Hunt, he doesn't need pay-per-view buy rates, and Brock Lesnar is going to be gone after this. He's already signed a contract to fight at SummerSlam for the WWE against Randy Orton, so he's not going to be around. So those guys don't need pay-per-view buy rates under their belts. Cormier needs that under his belt. I really hope that he gets re-promoted to the main event. As far as the Spider, as far as Silva coming in, he's a gigantic name, sure, but I'm not as excited as I'm excited for Cormier. I'm not excited for the fight. Anderson Silva is 41 years old, John. He hasn't fought. Jesus Christ. When was the last time he got in the octagon? 2000. Well, aside from his fight that he had against Bisping there in London a little while ago, like December or January of 2015.
You gotta understand, Lou. I was watching UFC at my best when he was at his best.
Okay, so you were watching.
This would be like you telling me that Dan Marino was gonna come back to quarterback one more game for the Miami Dolphins. That's the level this is to me in terms of how excited I am about this fight. I understand he's old. I understand he hasn't really done much, UFC wise in a couple of years. But goddamn it, it's Anderson fucking Silva.
Now, what if he comes in and kicks the shit out of Cormier?
Then Dana White will probably be on suicide watch if that happens.
He'll lose his fucking mind.
He will go fucking crazy if that ends up happening. That would be the worst possible thing that could happen.
This is on 2 days' notice. Do you think Silva was fucking training for a fight before this? No,
Silva wasn't. Okay, to give you guys an idea, so I was right. Yeah, he had his match against Michael Bisping back in London, and that was kind of a special thing. He hasn't won a UFC match since 2012. Okay.
Oh,
he
fuck.
He hasn't. If you're talking about his heyday, Anderson Silva's heyday was 2008, 2009, 2010. That was his heyday. That's when he was defending the middleweight championship. That's when he set the record for middleweight championship, defenses. This is not something I'm excited for. I really hope Cormier goes out there. It's a respectful tussle, and the two guys go out there, and Cormier doesn't try to kill this old man, is what I'm hoping for. Hopefully Cormier gets him in, and Cormier is a striker, but hopefully he gets him in a choke sometime at the end of the first round or middle or beginning of the second round, and Silva does the right thing and taps very quickly after getting in a choke or after getting in a chicken wing or something like that very quickly. I really don't want to see him bludgeon this old man to death. I really don't want to see that happen. I'm not excited for this. I'm excited for Cormier. I'm excited for him. I think it's cool to get to see this, but this is the kind of thing that gets over in pro wrestling when you bring an old guy back. This isn't the kind of thing that you do in a sport where people can literally kill one another in a ring. And
well, except, of course, in wrestling, they can be like, hey, old guy, you're going to win this time.
Well, yeah, that's the point. In a choreographed thing, that's okay. And something like this is not. I don't know how I feel about this.
This is very ageist of you, Lou.
Yeah. You
very
piece of shit.
ageist of you.
Yeah, very ageist
God
of
damn
me.
it, Lou.
Yeah, go get. Yeah, come get me. Come get me, Tumblr.
Oh God.
Look. Do I think it's cool? Did I when I saw it? Did I go holy shit? Yeah, I did, because I did not see this coming from a mile away. I don't think anybody really did. But yeah, I'm not expecting the Spider to go in there and hang with DC. No.
But here's the thing. When you hear the name Anderson Silva, it immediately reattaches the spectacle that Dana White wants in UFC 200. He wants it to be a spectacle above anything else. And I'm sorry, when you throw Anderson Silva's name in there, you're doing that no matter what.
Well, which there you go. That's further thing of what I say, that the MMA hardcore guys don't like to say that they're anything like WWE. UFC 200 is being built up the way WrestleMania is built up for the WWE. and quite frankly, it's better than WrestleMania right now. So they are out WWEing WWE yet again. So no, you're right. From a marketing standpoint, John, this is brilliant. I'm just saying, don't expect a 5-star match, is what I'm saying.
And also, I'm pretty sure when you hear the name Anderson Silva, it gives the casuals, sort of an erection, because now you're like, oh, that's a name I understand.
Well, when you think of Anderson Silva, if you have
think of when he broke his leg. No one else cares about that.
If you have a face, then you think of Chael Sonnen and
no one knows what the fuck you're talking about. Nobody knows what you're talking about. But you know what also gives me erections, Lou? Do you know what gives me erections?
Sage Northcutt?
Russell Wilson's sex life. Boom. Another transition. So at the rundown, I mentioned Russell Wilson, and by the way, his existence makes me cringe. And I don't like to use the word cringe lightly, because a lot of people overuse that. Kind of like how people overuse the words like hilarious or awesome. Neither of those things happen to you in real life. This guy actually makes me physically cringe, and I go, stuff like nanobubbles heal my injuries and prevent concussions. Stuff like he's just the most wild, most strange douchebag I've ever seen. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, singer Sierra, who is super hot, like flamin', she and Russell Wilson had been set to marry. They've been dating for years or year, I don't know. It's been a while, long time. Anyways, they vowed not to fuck before their wedding day, because Russell is a very religious person, and however you deal with that in your life, it's great. But any man who doesn't immediately fuck Sierra when he has the chance, I do not trust. So anyways, they got married, was it yesterday in England? And this is according to a Deadspin article written by Samir Khalef. Probably. I probably butchered his name, but don't worry about it. You get your credit. And quote, Seattle Seahawks QB Russell Wilson and singer Sierra married yesterday in England. Today, the couple not so subtly boasted about the sex they had, because they can have sex now. And so they I don't know if this is a Snapchat or if this is just a video that they tweeted or just put on Instagram or something. It's super fucking cringy. Anyways, so here's a transcript of that video.
Oh God!
And now just imagine Sierra and Russell Wilson sitting there and being like, you know that maybe you'll go into like Barnes and Noble or the mall, like in the food court, and that couple that is just, they gross you out because they don't just like love each other. It's like they need to be on top of each other all the time. It's not like romantic.
You mean teenagers?
It's just super annoying. Yeah, they're pretty much teenagers. And let's be real. Russell Wilson, he's a teenager. Sierra apparently is as well, but a really hot one.
No.
Please let me around high schools again. Anyways, so the video starts and Sierra says, quote, "So baby, you know what we're doing tonight?" And then Russell says, "From what we did last night, I'm going to do it multiple times." Then there's a pause. Russell then continues, "About last night." And then Sierra starts to giggle. "About sex." I don't know what the fuck to do anymore with this guy. Like, okay, I'm not a big fan of Tim Tebow, right? But he's probably slaying vaginas all over the country, right? Or buttholes. I don't know what he's into. Well, he definitely, no matter what's happening, that man is laying pipe. Russell Wilson is the cringiest motherfucker in the whole world. I didn't like him before. I am so glad that his offensive line is disintegrating around him and Marshawn Lynch is left, because I want to see him get snapped in fucking half now.
Jake,
like I just cannot stand by as a man. Like I don't care how you want to, like, you can or cannot fuck, that's fine. You can make that decision. But don't be a fucking weirdo. Especially publicly, like he always is. Like, he's super fucking weird. You ever seen him? He goes on like the Jimmy Kimmel show or whatever, and he's like, "Ha ha ha, Sierra's really pretty. I don't know." And then he's like I don't. He's super weird. He's like the kid that like flicks the back of the girl's chair that he likes in high school but he never like asks her out. He's just creepy, and then eventually it works out for him because he's the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks.
Jake, hearing you read that transcript was really, really, really awful. I almost gagged. I read that myself earlier today, and I almost gagged, and I was reading it in my voice, which is the voice I masturbate to. So that was really hard to have to listen to someone else read that out loud. My God.
And
they could have been talking about Pokemon World for all we know.
You mean Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go. What did I say? Pokemon World? Pokemon Go.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The servers don't work anyways. Not that I would download something like that, but I don't wish the best for their marriage. I hope it's over tomorrow.
Wow.
Like usually, I don't really usually wish bad things on people. I hope they fucking like their marriage license gets thrown into the sea and then they lose their love for each other and they break each other both emotionally and physically. And I don't know, Russell Wilson, I don't know, gets beat up by Johnny Manziel at some club.
I don't think that could happen. I don't think that.
I think Russell could probably hold his own, but maybe he's abstaining till marriage to defend himself in physical combat. The piece of shit.
No, I don't think Johnny Manziel can get into the clubs or the sections of the clubs that Wilson's allowed to go into. Is what it is.
So I know we did the who makes more or who makes less money than Timothy Mozgov. Maybe during the season, once a week, I will say what's worse than or what's Russell Wilson worse than, because he's worse than most things I can think of off the top of my head.
I would think most
dick
things
paper
he's
cut.
Worse than, and you know what it is about him, and it's perfectly fine to be religious, but the thing for me that lost me with him was he was on the stage of some church, and you can find it. Just Google, Russell Wilson talks about God in the Super Bowl when he says that he threw that interception, and then God whispered to him, "It's cool, man. You're supposed to do that." Like, what global plan could God... How arrogant do you have to be to say, you know what? Me losing was a part of God's plan because it's going to make the world a better place because I lost the Super Bowl. How fucking self-absorbed... And not only, well, it's funny because not only are you self-absorbed,
that makes Tom Brady win the Super Bowl, which is obviously a net loss.
Right. It is just astounding to me that not only can you be so self-absorbed to think that you make an impact on the rest of the species, but when you finally do fuck something up,
the rest of the species
because
of a ball. Fuck you, Russell Wilson. God, man, I'm so upset that he actually gets to have sex with Sierra.
It really
I hope
is
she's
unfair.
bad. I hope she's really bad at it.
She's taller than him, isn't she?
She's taller than me, probably. I wouldn't mind.
Okay, so here we go. First position they went into.
He's like an inch taller than me. Missionary.
You think missionary?
Missionary. And only missionary.
Really?
Are you kidding me? Russell Wilson went other than missionary? He doesn't know what he's doing.
No, that's not true. He's had sex plenty of times. That's why he broke up with his other wife, because he was plowing chicks on the side. He's had plenty of experience.
Yeah, let's be real. It's missionary.
Yeah. John, what do you think?
He probably stares into the fucking mirror like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
I don't know.
Me,
I think
but whatever.
I think he's just cringy
Flexes.
enough that it's missionary. But you always also, it seems to be those things where it's the guys that have turned that like, okay, now you can't defile the marriage bed, and he just goes fucking, balls deep, both fists.
Oh God!
What is balls deep, both
fists?
Do you have balls on your fists? How does that work?
That'd be balls on the wrists, sir. So, where I think a question for the audience: where's the worst place you could have balls? And my addition to that is probably the inside of your mouth is the worst place to have your balls. But then again, your balls are always getting sucked, so maybe that's a good thing.
In your butt would be the right choice.
In your butt? No, because then you get stimulated when you poop.
I think on your elbows. Because think about how bad it already hurts to hit your funny bone. Imagine if there were nuts there too.
You know what? Actually worse.
That's a good
worse
one,
than
John.
anything. Worse than anything. The balls being just 3 inches further south. You'd sit on them all day.
Well, Jake, just just make it to 72 years old, and they will be about 3 inches
Yeah,
further south.
but think about that.
So that's going to happen eventually. You're going to get there.
6 net inches further south by the end of your life. That's not a good life. That's not a good way to go.
Yeah.
Man, I hope assisted suicide is legal by then, because I don't want to sit on my balls that often. Anyways, I feel like we could probably end this shit show.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so a lot of you are probably new, and that makes me happy. So subscribe to the channel, you pieces of shit.
Also,
Did it help?
Also, check us out on Twitter at The Pine Bench. Check us out at Get John at RTP The Beard.
They're all on the screen. You see them. Just do the clicky clack on the Twitter twat.
Ow.
And follow us on the Twitter. And we'll hot takes all the time. And also check out our live shows every Monday at 9 Eastern. We're like I don't know, what's a regular scheduled program? The Kelly Project or The Big Bang Theory.
Do you mean the Mindy
Except
Project?
better. Mindy Project? Oh, I was thinking Kelly from The Office. But Mindy, yes. Anyways,
Also from
we're
The
gone.
Office.
Sure, we're gonna leave now.
All right.
So
You'll be good.
That's Lou. There's John, and I'm Jake. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry they talked about UFC so much. But don't worry, Sierra. We talked about that for a while, and her probably super sad vagina.
Hey, Lou, let's do a podcast together where the thing is that we talk. Oh, by the way, you're bad at words. Thanks, Jake.